While Saturday's college football slate is absolutely awesome, the fun will not stop there. Sunday night, we get another top 10 matchup, a battle between two college football playoff contenders. The Catholics versus the Convicts rivalry game. It's number 6 Notre Dame, number 10 Miami. These two teams meeting for the first time since 2017. And in my eyes, no better way, no better time to do it now than at the start of the regular season. This is going to be a fantastic matchup, guys. The reigning national runner-up in the Fighting Irish, and then a team in Miami who should have been in the college football playoff had they not slipped up down the stretch. Went 10-3, had a 9-0 start, but a 1-3 finish, including that upset loss in the finale to Syracuse that kept them out of the ACC championship and ultimately out of the playoff. They are looking to bounce back and finally break through to the playoff under Mario Cristobal. Take a look at the two teams. We'll start with the offense. Both these teams, I should note, despite very successful 2024 campaigns, they both look drastically different. And that's why you have to look at it, right? For a lot of these teams across the board, you can't say, oh, well, this happened last year. Or this happened back in 2017, right? So much has changed, even in the span of a year for both these teams. Especially for Notre Dame, right? They lose their star quarterback, Riley Leonard, who helped propel them to the national championship game, is now gone. And C.J. Carr is going to be starting for the Fighting Irish. Carr narrowly beating out Kenny Minchey for the starting quarterback job. He was our projected starter back in the preseason. We talked about him being the starter in our Notre Dame prediction video. Again, narrowly beat out Minchey. Shows how close it was. But Carr, standing at 6'3" with a very strong, accurate arm, ended up winning out on the battle. I think it was a phenomenal choice by Marcus Freeman. I'm very excited to see what Carr can do this season. He's got some good talent around him, right? Obviously, his first game as a starter, you wish it was against a team, like UMass. I'm getting UMass catching strays right now, but you wish it was against someone kind of weaker like that, not a top 10 opponent in Miami on the road, but he's got some help, right? Jaden Greathouse is returning for the Fighting Irish this year. 592 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was the leading wide receiver for Notre Dame in 2024. They also add Malachi Fields in from Virginia, where he had over 1,600 reception yards with the Cavaliers over the last 2 years. Will Pauling is in at wide receiver, in from Wisconsin, where he had over 1,300 reception yards in 3 years with the Badgers. They also returned Jordan Fison as well. So this is a Notre Dame team that actually has wide receivers. We've talked about in recent years, the wide receiver core hasn't been that great. The weapons haven't been that great. This year they've got them. If Carr lives up to the hype and the expectations set before him, and I believe he will, he's got a good talented team, a good talented core of pass catchers to help him out. But the big playmaker that we haven't even mentioned yet is their Heisman Trophy contender at running back, and that's Jeremiah Love, who rushed for over 1,100 yards and 17 touchdowns last year. So I think all eyes are going to be on C.J. Carr on Sunday night, but don't sleep on Jeremiah Love, who can take over the game by himself. With him is Jadarian Price, who rushed for over 740 yards and 7 touchdowns. So we're going to talk about Love so much. Don't sleep on Price, who is just as capable at running back as Love is. Factor all that in with a loaded offensive line that should open up running lanes for those two backs, that should do a good job of keeping C.J. Carr time and protection, deliver in the pocket. This is a Notre Dame offense I think could be even better than they were last year. I know the dual threat capability of Riley Leonard certainly will be missed, but this is an offense I do believe can be better than last year. The same maybe cannot be said for Miami. Kind of hard to be better than last year when last year was so record-breaking. The Hurricanes averaged nearly 44 points per game, over 537 yards per game. And now they lose the quarterback that helped lead them to those stats, Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick to the Tennessee Titans. Cam Ward is now gone. Their 1,000-yard running back in Damian Martinez is gone. Their top 6 pass catchers, including their stud Xavier Restrepo, are now gone. So all the guys that really helped you get to those stats and almost got you to the college football playoff are gone. Mario Cristobal, of course, dipped into the portal, as most coaches do. They landed Carson Beck, who is more than capable of leading this offense, right? Beck, playing in arguably the toughest conference in America, the SEC, threw for over 7,400 yards, 52 touchdowns, and 18 interceptions in 2 years with Georgia. Did a very good job with the Bulldogs. If he comes back from his injury that he suffered in last year's SEC championship, I think he can be just fine. I think he can put up some really good stats in this Miami offense that does return Mark Fletcher at running back, over 600 yards and 9 touchdowns. That does add C.J. Daniels in at wide receiver, who had nearly 500 reception yards with LSU last year. That has a great freshman wide receiver in Malachi Toney, who people are very high on. They add Alex Bowman in from Tulane, who was a third-team American Conference selection last year. The offense is going to be fine, right? Like, you've got a capable quarterback who has Power 4 starting experience in the SEC with an elite team like Georgia. You've got some solid wide receivers, not nearly as experienced or nearly as good as you had last year, but solid. And Fletcher, a very capable running back. Factor in a very strong offensive line anchored by James Brockermeyer and Francis Mauigoa. And Miami, I think, again, will be just fine. Will they be as good offensively as they were last year? No. But can they put, over 30 points per game up on the board? Yes. Can they put up over 400, 425 yards per game on the board? Yes, they can. I believe that. But will they be able to do that against this Notre Dame defense? That's the question mark, right? That's the million-dollar question. I will tell you right now, look at this. I think Miami probably does own the offensive edge, right? Maybe slightly, but from an experience standpoint, you're taking Carson Beck over C.J. Carr, right? From a running back standpoint, you're certainly taking Notre Dame. From a wide receiver standpoint, one could argue both ways. You might lean Notre Dame from just a standpoint of experience, especially Power 4 transfer experience. And then offensive line is almost even. You could argue that Miami might even own the edge there, although it would be very, very close. Really torn there. So you could argue just from a quarterback standpoint, the most important position on offense, Miami's got that edge. But can they deliver against this Notre Dame defense that is always elite? Has been for years, but certainly the case under Marcus Freeman. The Fighting Irish last year gave up just 15.5 points per game, only 307 yards per game. They do lose their top 2 tacklers from last year, but despite that, they, like the offense, could be even better this year. They are loaded at all 3 levels. The defensive line has Joshua Burnham. They have Donovan Hinnish, who had 4.5 sacks last year, by the way. The linebackers are led by Drake Bowen, who was 3rd on the team in tackles last year. Jalen Sneed, Jaden Osbury, all those guys back in the linebacking core. That's one of the best linebacking cores in the entire nation. The secondary only gave up 169 passing yards per game last year. Notre Dame did. And someone will say, oh, well, they didn't play that great of a schedule. Oh, they played a lot of teams that ran the ball. So, that doesn't count. Well, I think it does. And it did help Notre Dame get to the national championship game, did it not? Someone say, oh, they had a cakewalk. They placed to beat up Georgia team, and they beat Penn State. Penn State can't win the big games. Look, when you beat Georgia and then you beat Penn State, those are 2 quality wins in my eyes to help you get there. And then Indiana, of course, but we're. Besides the point, very good secondary. Aiden Schuler returns, had 3 interceptions last year. Christian Gray returns, had 3 interceptions last year. Leonard Moore returns. Devontae Smith is in at nickelback from Alabama. He helps out this Notre Dame defense in a big way. So the Fighting Irish arguably could have a defense that's just as good, if not better, than the one we saw in 2024. And defense travels. So if C.J. Carr struggles at quarterback, if this offense struggles in week 1, I think the defense is going to do a great job of keeping Notre Dame in this game, maybe despite some offensive struggles that they could see. And that's not even a guarantee. Miami defensively, they're going to be strong too. Love what they've got, especially up front. 8 starters are back, only gave up 25.3 points per game. That defensive line is going to be nasty. So that's the battle. Out of all the things I'm most excited to watch in this game, yes, I'm looking at C.J. Carr. Yes, I'm looking at Carson Beck. Yes, I'm looking at the guys that are gone, things like that. It's that battle in the trenches of Notre Dame's offensive line versus Miami's defensive line. A defensive line led by Reuben Bain at defensive end. Had 3.5 sacks last year, one of the best defensive ends in the nation. A defensive line led by David Blay, a first-team Conference USA transfer in from Louisiana Tech. A defensive line led by Akeem Mesidor, who had 5.5 sacks last year. That defensive line could be one of the best in the country, certainly one of the best in the ACC. Seeing that go up against Notre Dame's offensive line, who's going to be doing everything in their power to protect their freshman quarterback, that's the battle that I'm watching. Outside of that, you look at Miami's defense the rest of the way. The linebacking core is loaded. Wesley Basaint was the 2nd leading tackler last year for the Hurricanes. He now returns. They had Mohamed Toure in from Rutgers. That's an underrated pickup. He was injured last year, but in 2023 with the Scarlet Knights, had 93 tackles. The secondary has O.J. Frederique, Zechariah Poyser in from Jacksonville State. Keontae Scott is in at nickelback from Auburn. I don't think people are talking nearly enough about that pickup. So this Miami team, like Notre Dame, is loaded at all 3 levels. I do think I'm probably going with Notre Dame's defense in this one. If I'm picking a team that I think has the edge, I think it's Notre Dame. But Miami is very, very close. The talent is absolutely there. So all in all, guys, this is a very, very good game. A top 10 showdown on Sunday night. Big for both these teams because, you look at Notre Dame, their schedule is tougher this year than it was last year, which is great. Maybe allows them to just flip up once or twice and still make the 12-team college football playoff. I mean, heck, we saw them lose to Northern Illinois last year, and they still got in and made the national championship game. So a loss here does not ruin them, but it makes you wonder if they lose here and they still have a tough schedule the rest of the way, would one more loss eliminate them? Miami, a loss here does not ruin them. It's not a conference game. They can still win the ACC. They can still get the championship game, but this would be a huge resume-boosting win for them, and maybe would allow them a couple errors down the road, and you look back and go, let's still beat a quality Notre Dame team. We're going to put you in at 10-2, whatever the Hurricanes finish, right? So this is a massive, massive game. Massive, foundation-building win for the season for both of these programs. Ultimately, though, I'm siding with Notre Dame. I am siding with the Fighting Irish. Now, the comments about, how dare you? Oh, you're an idiot. How could you pick a guy in C.J. Carr making his first career start? You're going to have him start first career start on the road against a top 10 team, and you're picking them? Yes, I am, because number one, that's how much faith I have in him. Number two, I'm not convinced he's going to have to do all of it by himself. If he didn't have a great supporting cast around him, I might be picking Miami here. But you've got a Heisman Trophy candidate at running back. You got an offensive line that's going to open up some lanes for those running backs. You've got one of the best defenses in America going up against Carson Beck, who has a lot of talent. I think he's going to do very well here, but a Carson Beck quarterback that's coming off an injury and the last couple of years has been a little bit turnover prone, hasn't made the best decisions. Yeah, I like Notre Dame's defense more. Yes, Miami's crowd is going to be rocking for this game. They don't typically have the best home field advantage, but yes, I've heard it. Yes, that 2017 crowd where Miami absolutely destroyed Notre Dame was electric, and I would expect a similar crowd now on Sunday. But all in all, I believe Notre Dame gets this win. I believe their defense travels. I believe they give this Miami offense that is dealing with a lot of new pieces. It gives them some trouble. I think Jeremiah Love has a better day on the ground than people realize. And I think C.J. Carr is going to surprise a lot of people right out the gate in his first career start with Notre Dame. Give me the Fighting Irish to get a massive road win over a top 10 opponent. The reigning national runner-up starts the year 1-0. Miami 0-1. Their struggles continue. They lost 3 of their final 4 last year. Make it 4 of their last 5 dating back to last year. The Hurricanes, though, will be just fine. But it is Notre Dame that walks away with a huge victory on Sunday night. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. We beat out over 80% of the national handicappers each of the last 6 years. It will be 7 by season's end. We're offering those picks for one of the lowest prices in the entire country as well. So go sign up for those today. Again, the link down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.